Hi, I'm John Mayfield, the real estate tech guy with another Global Real Estate School podcast. Welcome to the podcast. My name is John Mayfield, the real estate tech guy, and this is episode 053. We're going to look at another exam question today, and I'll read this question to you, but it is in the show notes, so if you'd like to pull that up, you can read the question or just sit back and I'll try to read this so that you understand and get a good comprehension of the question. So here it is. The provision in a listing agreement that extends the period of the agency for those prospects to whom the broker introduced the property prior to expiration is it called an automatic renewal clause, an estoppel clause, an equal dignities clause, or a safety clause? So again, it's the provision that's in a listing agreement that actually extends the period of the agency for those prospects to whom the broker introduced the property prior to expiration. Is this an automatic renewal clause, an estoppel clause? An equal dignities clause. Well, I can tell you right now, I've never heard of an equal dignities clause, so we'll throw that one out, okay? Or is it a safety clause? And the correct answer is good job, because I heard many of you tell me the answer out there in podcast land. You said it was a safety clause. And it's also known as, what is a safety clause also known as? It's also known as a protective period clause. Now, a safety clause or a protective period clause basically says this. I show the property to John and Mary Smith 2 days before the listing expires, and they really like the house, but they want to think about it. Well, the sellers were home when I showed the property to John and Mary Smith, and 3 days go by. The listing, unfortunately, expires. The sellers are not real happy with me because they thought I should have sold the property during the listing time frame, and I cannot get them to renew the listing. And they run into John and Mary at the grocery store. In fact, they're both in the produce section. And they said, "Hey, you're the folks who looked at our home." And they said, "Yeah, we really like it. I think we're thinking about writing a contract on it." And the sellers say to John and Mary, "Well, you don't have to go through the agent. Our listing expired. We can sell it to you on our own." Well, unfortunately, there's this little clause called the safety clause or the protective period clause, and the seller's going to need to wait a certain length of time before he or she could sell it to John and Mary Smith. Normally I put 90 days in there, but it's a blank, and you could put 180 days or whatever period you would like to put in there. But that's a safety clause, also called a protective period clause, and it just protects you as the agent from the client, the seller, trying to sell the property to someone you've introduced the property to during the period where you had it listed. Now, there are lots of other details that go along with this. I need to register all of the clients who looked at the property during the period of the listing with the seller in writing. There's also a stipulation that if the seller relisted the property with another agency, that protective period clause would not apply. But if you'll just understand for the examination that this clause, the safety clause, also called a protective period clause, actually extends the period of the agency for those prospects to whom the broker introduced the property prior to expiration. Thank you for listening to the podcast for Global Real Estate School. I'm John Mayfield, the real estate tech guy. Go out and make it a great day.